What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Black Experience. Today, y'all, I have a very special guest with me today. Efrem Feseha, founder and CEO of Boon Boona Coffee, as you guys can see right here. It's a coffee place that is a source of connection and opportunity for both African coffee growers as well as the greater Seattle community that we are in. So with that being said, Efrem, welcome to the podcast.
Aramis, it's a pleasure to be here with you, and I don't think anybody has said my name as clearly as you have.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah.
It helps being Habesha, right?
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah, no, but you did great. Yeah, no, and I appreciate it. Honestly, grateful to be here with you and with your audience, and get to have this conversation.
Certainly, man, certainly. You know, it's been, as I was telling you before, you've been on my dream list. It's been months trying to get you on because I know you're busy, and people are like, he's in Renton. No, now he's in Capitol Hill. Now he's in this location. So, but I sincerely appreciate it, man. And as the audience knows also, you were one of my sponsors in my event a month ago. I had a community event. So for that, great reviews. People love the coffee.
I appreciate it. Well, great. You know, it's grateful that you did the event. You know, I mean, honestly, that's the kind of stuff we like to get behind, and you know, supporting folks doing things in the community, and even in the smallest way, which is, you know, providing some coffee, keeping people warm with a beverage. Definitely, that's something that we could do as a bare minimum, as a thank you for the work that you're doing as well, because that's everybody's got a particular lane, but I think that, you know, when you have a product and you have folks in the community doing stuff, how do you support them? There's some bare minimum things, and that's, like in our case, our product is coffee, so we can give you some coffee, brother. So that's easy. Thank you for doing what you're doing.
Certainly, man, certainly. Well, to kick it off, I have a fun icebreaker for you.
All right.
And it's in relation to coffee, of course.
Okay.
When you go into Boon Boona, let's say it's a beautiful morning, heck, it can even be this morning.
Yeah.
What is your go-to coffee order?
Okay. More recently, I'll do an espresso. And right now, in particular, there's a single origin coffee from Burundi that we have. It's called Hafi. It's anaerobic. It's delicious on espresso. And so I'll do that. And like right with it, I'll do a cortado, which is 2 ounces of espresso and like 2.5 ounces of milk, basically.
Yeah.
So very little in the milk, but it's like delicious. Like, it's like, so yeah, 2 drinks basically.
Yeah.
And then if I'm, you know, that's just to get warmed up. And then if, you know, running out for a meeting or going out of the cafe, I'll take some drip with me, some black coffee, nothing added to it. So that's my morning. That's how I go. That's how I go. And I wouldn't say it's always like that, but I would say that a good amount of the time I want to do an espresso and I want to do a cortado product.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And do you have like a summer drink?
We do. Right now it's this blue African, blue Africano, and it's sparkling water, it's espresso, and it's like a blueberry syrup component to it. It's not too sweet. It's delicious. So and you have it iced. Yeah, it hits.
Oh, that's perfect. I might have to get that right after this. You know, I'm a big Frappuccino fan, but I've never tried the blue Africano.
Blue Africano, yeah, and it's something that we've got for just the summer, and then you know, we rotate every you know, quarter basically. But that'll be the go-to. That's my go-to right now. But there's others too on it. Like,
I'm sure.
Right now, obviously, there's like this overall general kind of like matcha craze going on.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I mean, I think we've got like 3 different types of matcha-based drinks. So strawberry or this or that, and you know, berries and cream, all kinds of things. But the matcha craze is real.
Goodness.
That's also a popular summer drink. Yeah,
I bet. And you have a team, right, that's coming up with these ideas, or is it just you solely?
Bro, no, I'm the worst. I mean, I come up with some basic things for sure, but no, it's the team, and I allow the team to, you know, just really kind of be creative with it. We definitely try keeping things like cleaner, and so, you know, real sugars versus high fructose and things like that. We make mostly all of our syrups in-house. And so, yeah, they come up with it, and then, you know, like, yo, we like it, we don't like it, or and we just move forward with it. Yeah, but yeah, it's a team.
That's awesome.
So we do have somebody that specializes in it for us, and then our director of operations or GM will kind of like review and make sure that they're good, and from like sourcing and everything else that they're good or whatnot. But yeah, then we go wild.
There we go. There we go. Well, Efrem, with that being said, if you want to just introduce yourself a little bit to the audience. Sure. I know we talked about Boon Boona, but tell the audience a little brief description about yourself.
So from Eritrea, born in Saudi Arabia, came here when I was 5, grew up in West Seattle, off Del Ridge, went to South and Denny and other schools out in the West, and then went to WSU for my undergrad. Came back to Seattle after my undergrad studies and worked in finance locally for a period of about like a good 6 years or so. And then by 2010, 2011, like really the financial crisis kind of got to a boil for me, and where it was like, it was really tough. I was fortunate to be working, but I was working really hard, and I just got burnt out and said, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to go travel. And I spent 3 months in Asmara, but I also traveled to other places too on that journey. And while I was there, I came back with like, this desire to do something in coffee, but it was really off of the coffee culture that existed there. Now, true, being here in Seattle, like, obviously we see the big dogs grow and do what they've done. But at the same time, like, we grew up with the traditional, coffee ceremony, which is done in Ethiopia, Eritrea, and even other surrounding countries too, based on the tribes. But like that tradition as well, seeing that and not getting the spotlight that it really deserves, was an interest. And really, when I went to Asmara, I saw the convergence of both those things happening, and where you have, the remnants of Italian colonial rule, and then you have all these cafes that have sprung up there, but then you also have the traditional. So I came back, started working on the game plan, and that was Boon Boona. But and we'll dive into that. But you can say, can't say born and raised, but raised here, and I have a big love for here, for Seattle and the surrounding areas, Renton especially. But then also a love for back home, and that's really something where where I think the influence of my family, my parents, comes in, and a desire to do something good and to be intentional about what you're doing. And so I wanted to have a way of bridging or working back on the continent and still being here in the place that I love, and this has become the tool by which I've been able to do it, which is coffee. So, yeah,
man. And I was telling you, we went back around that same time to Asmara, and it was because I also left when I was very young. I was 4 years old, and it was a culture shock, because I remember as soon as we touched down and then we went to my grandpa's house, all my family members from my mom's side and dad's side, they were just staring at me specifically. My siblings as well, but they were just staring at me because they were like, the last time they've seen me was when I was 4. So, that community, that family aspect that's in Asmara, and then when you step out into the city and you see all those little coffee shops, it's just heartwarming.
It really is. It really is. For me, definitely Asmara, but I felt that even more so in the village. Like
you went into the village too?
Yeah. I stayed in the village for a good amount of the time. Not a lot of the time, but a good amount of time where I was just there weeks on end, and it has less of the luxuries even than the city does. And so it's real. But the warmth of the community, like honestly, you walk out of, like, fortunately, like my grandparents' house is still there. And so I was staying there, and so I would walk out, and immediately, an auntie would be walking by, and she'd be like, "Oh, you're so and so's son," And it's not even like my parents; it's my grandparents that she knows, And she's like, "Oh, come with me, like, let me give you breakfast, or hey, like, I'm trying to find this." They're gonna walk you to that place. It was a warmth that I've never really ever experienced. And I loved it.
And it's crazy how they make those family connections, My mom does the same thing too. She's like, this is actually the cousin's wife of the brothers of this.
Yeah.
It takes me a minute to puzzle it together.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. Yeah. I'm like, I need it charted out, please. Like,
right. It's like a heritage tree,
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So Speaking of Boon Boona, so you came back to the States and Boon Boona, you founded it in 2011. What was the origins of the name? Because it's a combination of both saying coffee and Tigrinya as well as Amharic.
Yeah. So I was really bad with names, like of like what to name the business or whatnot, and the names that I was using just didn't hit. And I was sharing it with like my friend Yusuf, and he was like, "Man, just call it coffee, and just be done with it, basically." And I was like, "Bro, I can't do that." And I think my uncle was in the vicinity, or he heard us talking about this, or when he joked about it. Yeah. And Daniel, and he was like, instead of coffee, why don't you say Boon Boona coffee? And now you've, brought in everything into it, And so I was like, that makes more sense. And so Boon, is more common in Eritrea, but it's also used in parts of Kenya as well. And in Arabic, it means the actual bean itself is Boon, the actual coffee bean itself.
Right.
The drink is kahwa, but the bean itself is called bun. And then bunna, is more in Ethiopia. And then the word coffee itself comes from the region in Ethiopia called Kaffa, which is the birthplace of coffee, or Arabica coffee. So Boon Boona coffee is, coffee in 3 different languages. But you see, even in just doing that, like, it provides a lot of context around this beverage that we all, or most of us, consume. That history isn't known, so it opens up the door for a conversation to happen, and almost an acknowledgement as well of that history that isn't really amplified or told much of.
Yeah. And were you a coffee drinker before you founded Boon Boona?
A little bit. Like, I think I remember my first drink was like caramel macchiato, and
that's one of my favorites, actually, too. Or the frap.
Yeah, the frap. Okay. I got that in the first time I had that was like in my freshman year, and I was trying to stay up because they were like, "Yo, coffee will help you stay up." Yeah. It didn't work. I bombed the test also, so it was just a failure. Yeah, it was just a failure all around. But then I started drinking that, and I was just like, "Man, this is super sweet." And then really, I went back home that summer. I think it was probably my first full year of college, like, under my belt. Then I went back home, and Mom was doing the ceremony, and she was like, "You want to drink some?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll drink some." And that was the first time I had like the traditional coffee, and with the jeban on the finjal and everything. And so I was like, "Oh, okay, like, I think I can appreciate this," but I really didn't dive into it or keep coming forward. It was just on occasion, and if I was back home and want to catch up with Mom, then I'd have it, since it's such a socializing piece in our culture. But I didn't get into it heavy until my return from that trip. And really, actually, when I was there, because even in Asmara, like, I mean, just the quality of the drinks there, and that was the first time I had a cappuccino, traditional cappuccino, macchiato. I was like, "Oh, this is really good." Like, in comparisons to what I've been having. So
had here, yeah.
Yeah. And so that's kind of when it started to connect,
to come together,
a little bit more. Yeah.
And I'm trying to imagine. I mean, owning your own coffee shop and founding that, and doing it here in Washington State amidst all the other giants that are here. Man, what was that journey like? Take us a little bit through the ups and downs of those beginning years, even a few months before you actually established Boon Boona.
Yeah, it was really tough. Like, I mean, it was one, I was excited. I was really excited about, like, I think I see this lane, I see this space, I see this opportunity, the potential, and I was really excited about it. And I just was like, I think I can do something in this space. And so I just like sat at home really for 2 months and just working on the game plan, knowing that, how likely will it be that I get funded? How likely will it be that people come? I don't know. It's just like, I want to do this thing, and I think this would make sense. And it was with that I really fueled myself throughout this journey. And to an extent, that's what I still do. It's still that, I think there's something there that allows me to kind of push through a lot of this stuff, because it's not easy. And so, there was also this kind of like, if you can make it here with this crazy idea, then, you can make it anywhere. So it's almost like that. New York, you make it in New York, you can make it anywhere in the world type of thing. But if you could do coffee in Seattle, then maybe you could do it anywhere, but not necessarily the desire, right? I'm not trying to say that I'm trying to go global or something with this, but that's kind of where I was also thinking about it. Like, this is a real challenge then, even more so. But I think this thing may work, and if it works here, then it's good. And so, I pushed through a lot of the kind of like initial naysayers and things like that. And I also kept it very guarded too. So I wouldn't share much with most folks. Like I wasn't out there saying, oh, I'm doing this thing. It was very much of like, no, I'm quietly doing this thing. I'm trying to figure this thing out. I'm going to, poke holes in it. When I did go pitch to the banks, which was at the end of 2011, they were like, no, like, they're like, how are you going to compete? Like, how are you going to compete with these folks? And I was like, that's not my desire. Because, providing that context of like the historical importance of coffee or where it comes from or this traditional approach or, paying a little bit more for coffee, like this stuff was like crazy, especially at the time, because a lot of it was based off of like, how it had been, and I think it's probably good to talk about it from like the American experience of coffee, right? Where, you go from coffee in a can, Maxwell House and things like that, and Folgers, right? And people just, mocha pots, but like really more of this like, dark coffee, I'm gonna add stuff to it, not really aware of what you're consuming. Like that was the history of coffee. And so it wasn't really something people totally gravitated to. It wasn't until truly like, the big dogs, until the Starbucks came through and it helped kind of move folks into that space now.
Yeah.
But then from that point, it's now gotten to a place where it's like, okay, like I want to know about what country, what region and things like that. But, at the time when I was coming in, obviously it was those big dogs. And even there, it was still very kind of like, we just sourced from Indonesia, Sumatra, it's, Sadamo, and it's very high level. And then even in the quality and the experience of the drink itself, like you're like, this, is okay type of thing. And so it was this place of like, okay, like this is at this point, you could take it further, right? And I think it's just a good way to imagine it or think of it is, because I think we've seen that evolution happen a little bit. It's further along in this particular sector, but like in beer, you go from Budweiser, King of Beers, to now like, there's more like smaller breweries popping up or whatnot. Not to this point where it's like microbrewers. I mean, some people brew beer at home, and there's one on every block. And now as a consumer, right, it's no longer just just Budweiser or it's just a lager. It's like, oh, about IPAs, about West Coast IPAs, about like porters, about stouts, about Hefeweizens, like the different levels and different styles of beer. So now, no different than wine, where it's just like, oh, white wine or red wine. It's like, no, about what region and what terroir it was, and what the season might have been like.
Everything.
That kind of level is also found in coffee. It just hadn't been explored or brought to the mainstream. Like people hadn't gotten that exposure.
Right.
So as the consumer knowledge becomes greater and as people become more aware of like wine, beer, now that'll happen as well within coffee. And that's, I think, where we found ourselves in. And I was, all right, that's a little bit more of a kind of a historical perspective and like parallel kind of industries to show where things were at that time and where it's at even now within coffee. And so it was underneath that backdrop where it was like still like the big dogs and these smaller roasters were just starting to come.
Yeah,
is where I kind of found myself. And so the thought of like more specific or like the fact that people, the bankers or the larger entities were more of like, nah, ain't nobody interested in that level of coffee, like nobody cares that much about it. I was coming in at that time, and so they didn't care to hear that story. But that was where I felt like there was an opportunity. Like you could just persist in there, and that should be the case. And so, that's kind of the backdrop of where it was at the time. But
wow,
yeah.
And so, like you said, initially they said no to you, but you persisted, and then as well as the fact that you have a unique story that they probably never heard of, or that gap, that opportunity gap that you saw where coffee and its history hadn't been really exploited like that. They eventually found it, and they eventually agreed.
Yeah, I mean, I would say they may have.
Kind of.
Yeah, I mean, because from that point on, it was 7 years. And I think that, I think where we look at Boon Boona is like, something that emerged, more recently and, has been at it for a few years in the cafe scene and such. But, prior to that, it was like 7 years. And so really after the rejections, like, I just incorporated. I said, I'm going to reach out to family in Ethiopia. I'm going to source my own coffee. Start bringing that coffee here. And really, I'm just going to focus on my community. And so, at first it was just to play with coffee. I was like, if I'm going to get no's, let me go learn more about the craft. And so I started playing with coffee at home. And then that led to like folks being like, oh, like I want your green coffee, the unroasted, the raw coffee that we use for the traditional ceremony. Yeah. And so I started to become the plug for it. And then that led me to kind of like recognize that maybe I could just start off here with this. And so I started packaging green coffee and distributing it to a lot of the mom and pop grocery stores, the East African grocery stores around the city. And so I did that up until, and we still do that, but like really for those first 7 years, that's all I did. And I would travel. I would go to LA, I'd go to the Bay. If there's a soccer tournament, if there's a festival, Ethiopian festival, Eritrean festival, I'd go to both, pitch a tent, and try selling coffee. And it was labor intensive. It wasn't probably making that much money, but it was me working on that craft in that area I wanted to be in. And so in that place of like, still like, banks not willing to fund or, still being looked at like, even in the coffee industry, like, oh, who's this guy? What's he doing? He's just selling green coffee. Even in the industry, like, not be considered like part of it. It was an interesting space to kind of be in. And so I had to just kind of keep moving and kind of quietly move to where it is that I wanted to get to. But that was until 2018, 2019 when we opened up our first brick and mortar location, which we did in Renton. But yeah, a lot of that time was, just really, grinding hard.
and people don't, they tend to forget about that too.
Yeah,
There's that aspect in the dream, where
you're not there. Like
you're doing the heavy, you get the brunt of the force, when it's just you.
Yeah. And even, amongst my friends, like I'd be like, yeah, man, I'm trying to do this thing. And they'd be like, oh, like they were all supportive. Like I've had the majority, I would say that I was pretty fortunate that, my family was supportive, my friends were all supportive. They knew what I was trying to do. And they even helped, like, I'd be like, yo, I need to move some burlap bags, come help me carry, or, yo, can you deliver this?
Yeah.
They would do it. So, I've always been fortunate enough to have family and friends that have been willing to do that, siblings, all of my siblings, like, so, and my marketing person, which was my mom, like my mom would hype it up, as well, like, you got to try his coffee and things like that. But, I've been very fortunate in that space, but yeah, you're still also battling with the fact that like, you're not at your goal of where you want to be. And at the same time, I'm working my full-time job. It's like, this is my side hustle. This is my Friday, Saturday thing, maybe even a little bit on Sunday. Like I'm working this. Monday through Friday, I'm at, Nordstrom or Amazon or Holland America, like doing my full-time job.
Full-time job, yeah.
Yeah, and so this is the passion project, but, I was just set on doing it, so.
Yeah. Wow. Growing up, was there somebody that inspired you, that you looked up to, that you were like, you know what? He has a big dream. He's accomplished his dream. I think I want to do the same in my life with whatever that may be.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that there were a lot. I mean, I think I've always been one where, look at the good and what people are striving to try doing in their lives. And so I wouldn't say that there's one individual, one figure. I mean, I've always looked to my family. Like my parents have always been folks that inspire me and have instilled in me like the love for back home. And so there's things that I think that were probably foundational in my upbringing that I pursued, which I'm continuing to pursue, that are based off of what they showed me. And so they were the inspiration, or they are the mentors or true lights for where it is that I wanted to go, and make them proud, but make myself proud too, because, as I was growing, there was that foundational love there of love for back home, but then, also coming to more awareness and knowledge. By the time I was in my undergrad, like my sophomore year, I started picking up Malcolm X, autobiography,
Okay.
and I really got inspired with his book, and the story there, and his journey, and how he changed and evolved, and there are many others as well. But looking at myself as someone who can evolve and recognizing, the society that we're in and where you want to make an impact, I would say that there are so many influencing factors by how I've kind of traversed this earth for myself that it'd be hard to put it on one, but
Sure.
it'd be those components. And so for me in my journey, it's always been kind of like, okay, how do you do something back home? How do you support back and truly like throughout the continent, as best as possible? Obviously, play a small part, or very like a dust.
Sure.
But try playing a part in amplifying and providing economy back on the motherland, and then as well as engaging here and supporting community here locally. Like that's a very satisfying place for me, because those are the two things, right? Because we left at a time when it was hardship back in Eritrea, and additionally, even to now, where you have cousins and others who are on the journey to get here, to the opportunity that you and I both have had.
Certainly.
One has to recognize that, like, the position that we're in, we're so fortunate that it provides I mean, you can't do for everyone, right? You can't necessarily send that extra $100,000,
To all the
whatever it
family
is, to
members.
all the family members that call and ask for it. But you do have a responsibility to kind of put some attention on there, and maybe it's amplifying it by speaking about it. It's or it's providing, in your own way, a way of creating economy there. And so in your way of trying to give back or do right, that's one thing that's really satisfying, and also feels like I'm working or trying to do my part there in that space. And additionally, in the city, in this, this place that I love, in this, our region here, I've been such a fortunate to be in this community.
Yeah.
And so many people have helped me, and I love it here. And so there's also like, I want to give back. I want to support, And so, it's more that. And I think that, to your original question, is there anyone that influenced you? I think it's been a whole surrounding. It's a whole community, of folks and purposes that have all influenced me on this journey. And not that I'm perfect or anything. Like I'm striving, I'm learning.
Sure.
Is really the
that's
at
all
the
of
end
us.
of the story.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
is at the end of the journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think what you just said too, I think, like I said in the intro, it's Boon Boona being on your page. It says it's a source of connection and opportunity for African coffee growers in the greater Seattle community. So it's you're on one side, you're living out your dream of having your own coffee shop, Boon Boona coffee, and then at the same time, you're also bringing that traditional Eritrean Ethiopian coffee, with the jebena, with everything here, so that people know. My mom brought her own jebena to the event.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
And then people were like, "Wait, what is this? How does this work?" Like they saw the coffee and the little containers you guys gave us, but to them to see my mom pour it into each of the jebena cups, they were like, "This is mind blowing. This is different.
Yeah.
This makes coffee drinking on a whole nother level."
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And so it is beautiful. You're providing a window to many that didn't get to see it, don't get to see it, and a marketing, system that has probably intentionally kept that story, that history out of the journey of coffee, right? Because I think so often we just think about, the influences of espresso machine in Italy, and so and not Ethiopia,
No.
or
It's
Kaffa.
forgotten.
It's forgotten. It's intentionally probably kept out of it. So
Yeah.
I think that's how
We're fighting back against that.
yeah. Oh, sorry.
when it comes to the Habesha community, us both being Habesha, obviously, do you feel like the reaction from them and once you founded your coffee shop, like how's that reaction been to that? How's the support been from the Habesha community in particular?
I think it's evolved over time. It comes with its criticisms. It comes with its support, and I'd say that the majority of it is support. A lot of it is, it's overwhelming almost. It's like, oh, proud of you and proud of what you're doing. At the same time, definitely it's, you recognize that you could ruffle feathers too. You didn't use that Jebana or this Jebana or. And I think that I can understand where folks come from. There's a lot of history, right, and a lot of things, and so people come at it from all different ways. And you just try not to take try not to take it as like a personal offense or anything against you. Obviously, recognizing what individuals have gone through or experienced, and recognizing that's maybe where the feedback is coming from. But when it is, a positive or a negative, and I'll be honest, like I like hearing negative too, so that there's areas for improvement, right? If it's all just bashing, then that's not good either. But if it's all like, yo, great job, all that, that's also like,
then your head gets big.
Yeah, and I don't need my ego like pumped, and so, but there is a healthy place of where feedback is given. And you can like, oh, okay, yeah, I recognize that, or I can improve on that, or I can change that. And I think I see what you mean there. And I think that that's good and healthy in anything, right? In anything in life, but in business, but then also when you are talking about culture and things. So, I think it's evolved. And then, now obviously I think there's more amplification and opportunity to tell that story as we kind of continue to evolve and grow too. And so how do we do it best, And so we kind of have to think about that now even more so. It's like, we get this, like, we've got this opportunity. We're opening up a location here in Pike Place Market, pretty much Overlook Walk Cafe, which is, millions of people walk past there every year. And so that's really an opportunity to showcase and tell that story. And so how are you going to tell that story? How are you going to do it best? And so, there's going to be a lot of learning, but we're excited, and we hope that it's, a sense of pride and an opportunity for, to tell that story that we've been talking about, of where coffee originates from, showcasing it, and to make, definitely want to make our community proud and help amplify the story, as well as truly give back and engage in supporting producers and farmers throughout the continent. All of that stuff. But, I'd say that, overall, the reason that I've gotten to this point is because of our community. The first doors to let me into their door to put my coffee in were Somali women-owned grocery stores, Tawakal and Tabarak in Takwila, and forever indebted to them for that opportunity, because that's where we go shop at, that's where you get your halal meat, that's where you get your fresh injera,
come on,
everything, but then stores like Tana Market, and we've been very fortunate to have that kind of support, to where had they not opened those doors, it would have been impossible. Because now we're fortunate enough to be at PCC with our coffee, which is a local grocer co-op, but back in 2013 with my green coffee, we were like, not our consumer base probably isn't going to want green coffee, Efrem, but
sure,
that opportunity wasn't there then. But I could get that opportunity though, because of our own community. And so recognizing that, how much they've put on it, and even in cases where like I've traveled around for like the tournaments and things like that, they're always like, whether it's helping me pitch a tent or helping me sell some of the coffee, or helping me in different ways, even purchasing it. Community's always been there to support, and I'm very fortunate and grateful for it. And so
it's played a big role for me too, Efrem. I mean, like I was telling you, this wasn't something that was in the cards that I had for myself, 3 years ago when I first started this. And there's something, you always have, that group of people, kind of like the Somali women that were supporting you from day one, that you're like, I'll never forget you, no matter how big I become, no matter how big this thing goes. But I know we were talking about expansion, and you're going to be opening up a new location here at Pike Place. Now, you said maybe not global, but in the future, could we potentially see a Boon Boona in Africa?
Oh man,
or somewhere?
I mean, somewhere maybe, yeah. I mean, honestly, the way I kind of see growth is that you got to deliver on the thing that you say you're going to do. And so we don't want to necessarily scale just to scale. Like, there's a saying, nail it, then scale it. And so you got to deliver first. Then you can think about scaling. And right now we're in just let's deliver. Let's deliver on this new location. Let's deliver on this new wholesale partner that we've got. Let's deliver for Hermes when he's coming through to get a latte. Like, let's do that, move him away from frappuccinos, come on down to Boon Boona.
Well, especially that, I can't wait to try that blue Africano.
Yeah,
That's
go.
what I'm looking forward to.
Let's go. But it's really that, I think if we focus in on, the things that we're saying that we're doing, things that we want to do better, that's really the goal. But, if granted the opportunity for something, we evaluate and try doing our best to make it happen. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what the next thing will be, but truly, been fortunate that this opportunity right here alone exists. I mean, it's really coming full circle. I grew up one of the first places when we were arriving here, and you do as a newcomer to the city is to go to Pike Place Market. It is to go to the waterfront. And so, I remember when I first started the business, when I started the retail side, I wanted to be in Seattle. I just couldn't afford to be in Seattle. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to have to go somewhere else. And so Renton, played a big part in my journey. Renton was also where my dad started working. It's also where, a lot of us live.
There's a huge Habesha presence there.
Yeah. And so, and I just saw that the opportunity existed there. And so, fortunate to be in downtown Renton, and that's been the place where a lot of this is all flourished from. But now to come into this space here, a brand new building, a brand new site, anyone that's grown up here and knows the viaduct and driving on the viaduct, as nervous as you would be if that thing was going to collapse or not, just slowing down on it to enjoy the view was a great part of it. But then at the same time, now, it's all opened up, and now it's a bridge, and you get to just relax there and just have now a cup of coffee there too.
Oh yeah.
It's
It's
gonna be light.
Man, there's a ton of events coming, and Madaraka Festival is coming up too later this month.
Yeah, of course, Simon. Yeah, come on.
So it's a lot of opportunities there for growth, and even you're giving me ideas right now that I'm thinking about to potentially do there too. So a lot of things. But Efrem, man, we are actually at the deep end point of the podcast.
Oh,
We've reached the end, and this is the part where I asked my guest the advice question.
Okay.
It's one of my favorite questions. But to all, and I'm not even just gonna say the younger generation today. I'm even gonna say, be more specific to people that want to own, let's say, a coffee shop.
Yeah.
They have their own business idea that they want to do down the line. It could be a year, a month, whatever from now. And they have these aspirations. And amidst your journey and amidst the ups and downs that you've had, what advice would you give to that person before they embark on that journey, or if they're embarking right now?
I mean, it's the same one that I think has helped me push through a lot of this stuff. Is your heart in it? Your heart's got to be in it completely. It's got to be something that you get really excited about. It's something that you're passionate about. It's not something that tomorrow it changes and it's like, oh no, I'm not too excited about that. But it's truly something that you're passionate about. And then put the work in around that thing. What is it and how is it going to operate? And, I almost look to people that are going to say no to it. Think about what they would say. You already know, there's a skeptical person, you bring them something, it's like, they're going to say no. That's a perfect person to almost bring it to, and then let them shoot it down, but take all those reasons that they're shooting it down and go answer those things so that you have a solid plan as to why it would. And now you might not guarantee that that's going to be the reason why it will, but you will have some confidence and maybe some data to back it as well. But once again, the first part is just being passionate about it and spending time in that craft. You know, whether it is coffee or another area, it all depends on the level of passion, level of like how hard you're going to work at it, you know. And I mean, so many analogies, so many different metaphors for it. You know, one that I always, you know, especially, you know, for youth that I think about is like, and one that just resonates with me even to this day. But like as a student, you know, there were classes that I did really well in. Now, sometimes it's because of the teacher and sometimes it's the material. And then there's classes that I did very poorly in, and for the same reasons. But, you know, just taking it from the side of like the material and what it is that I'm studying, you know, like, you know, I was not excited about chemistry, but I was excited about, you know, like, geology. And when I would come to my chemistry exam, like I'd be like, oh God, I gotta study. Oh man, I'm not even prepared for this. I don't even know this material that well. Like I'm struggling through it. And it's probably just because, you know, my heart just really isn't in that field. Versus in geology, like I'm like, oh man, like yeah, let me tell you about metamorphic rocks, you know, like, and I'm just super excited about that thing, and I'm diving deep into it, and I'm, you know, absorbing it because I have a desire for it or passion for it. I'm excited, you know, that thing, and you come to that exam and you crush it, and I think about, you know, the kind of business in that same fashion. So if it's something you're truly passionate about, you know, you're going to go hard for it. And because it is business and you are dealing with, you know, economics and, you know, truly, you know, things got to be profitable for you to be able to continue to function, like have some meaning behind it. It can't just be for self. And so what also helps is having some reason, some purpose for it. And it has to go beyond yourself because, you know, how many people do we know that are wealthy that are not satisfied? But if it is something that is giving back, if it is something that is intentional, or you're working to do something good, or giving back in some form or fashion, providing space even, you'll find that that is so rewarding. And it'll make those other things like, you know, yeah, you do need, you know, financial success to continue on, or you need finances to be able to operate. But at the same time, you want to have a reason beyond that to wake up in the morning and go. And I would say that, you know, look at how you can do that with that particular thing. You could be a real estate agent. And if you're a real estate agent and your focus is just like, yo, how many homes did I sell this year, and how much did I generate, and how much did I sell in properties this year? What was my commission like? How do I work my commission, you know, lower? That's for sure, yeah. I mean, that's all you're doing for yourself. You're taking care of yourself. But if you're an agent also that is like, yo, how do I provide education as to how to get that first loan, to get that, secure that first house? How do I help somebody bounce from house one to house two? And you're providing maybe a space for that kind of education to communities, to families that have not been fortunate enough to have that. You will find that to be so rewarding. And honestly, in a ways too, you're finding yourself more customer base too for the future. But truly, just in simply that action and doing those things, the good deeds of goodwill to your community, it will come back for you. And it's good. Even if it doesn't come back, like even if you don't get a customer out of it, like that is still good. It's going to be rewarding. And I just think about business in that manner. And so I think that if there's anything I can share with anyone, it would always be do something that you're passionate about and make sure that there's some kind of, you know, support giving back to your community positively. In some manner.
Certainly. I'm getting two things from those. One is value propositions. You're providing that value for people. And on the other hand, it's your why. Yeah. It's your why keeping you intact. Because when you have those naysayers, like you could come at it with a mindset of, okay, I'm a pick his brain, and then all those things he's saying, I'm gonna jot them down. I'm gonna try to. But if you also have a why, that also keep you going, because it's easy to say that, and then once you hear all that, you're like, damn, man, like really?
Yeah.
And then just fall apart.
Yeah.
So But that's some good stuff. That's some good stuff, Efrem, man. I appreciate it. Where can people find you, Boon Boona, connect with you, support your business?
Yeah, I mean, for me, well, the business itself at Boon Boona Coffee, so BOONBOONA and then our cafes, we've got 4 of them, and the 5th one is coming now: Renton, Cap Hill, U District, inside of Microsoft in Redmond, and then the newest one is going to be at Overlook Walk near the waterfront. And then that's definitely the best way. And then my personal one is at Efrem the Dream. That's my personal one for IG. But yeah, I mean, love being here. Love connecting with you in the community, and
It's been fun. Yeah.
Excited to hopefully see you all at Boon Boona.
Certainly. Well, you guys heard him. Efrem, thank you again. And I hope everyone enjoyed this episode, took away some things. Click the link in the description to go support me, to go support Efrem and what he's doing, and go follow us both. And comment down below what you guys thought of this episode and what your coffee order is in any morning. But anyways, y'all, without further ado, till next time, guys. Peace. What is up, y'all? Thank you so much for tuning in to that episode. Make sure to click the subscribe, follow button, as well as the bell to get notified on all my new content that is coming out every Wednesday and every other day. And make sure to click that link in the description down below to get access to all my socials and any other platforms that I have my podcast on. And until next time, y'all, peace.